What's up, gang? Kawaii50 here with another fake Grand Order video, and it is time to talk about my personally most desired servant for this summer, who I unfortunately don't have yet. But that's not something you need to worry about. That's something for me to worry about in my sadness and upsetness. Anyways, it is the horror movie buff herself, Murasaki Shikibu. Legitimately indispensable when it came to this last event. Really, we could not have done it without her. And I'm going to show you how you can use her allies, craft essences, and command codes to make her an indispensable part of your team as well. So hopefully this video ends up doing just that for you. And if it does, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Murasaki's deck comes with 2 quick, 2 arts, and 1 buster card with a single target arts noble Phantasm. Her max HP of 11,880 is fairly solid, as is her max attack of 8,730. Her NP per hit is actually pretty decent at 8.53%, considering she's got 4 hits on those arts cards and the ability to arts Brave Chain. And being a rider class, well, of course, she has some of the highest star weight in the game at 205. So more often than not, your stars are going to her. Murasaki's first skill is Summer Night Black Widow rank EX. This allows her to seal an enemy's noble Phantasm for 1 turn, and also decreases their defense by 20 to 30% for 3 turns. Against bosses, this is going to be very, very effective. And here we start to see Murasaki's role as a boss killer begin to manifest, because NP Seal has definitely saved me on a bunch of challenge quests, and I'm sure it's going to go ahead and save you too. We are still going to go ahead and max this skill last though. The other 2 skills are a little more important to Murasaki's overall DPS, and an NP Seal is going to be just fine enough at level 1 as it is at level 10. So hold off on this for now. Murasaki's second skill is Bizarre Hobby Summer rank C++, which I think is referencing her love of horror movies, but I like horror movies a lot too, so I really don't think it's that bizarre of a hobby. Anyways, this skill decreases enemies' debuff resist for 1 turn. It gives them a skill seal, so they ain't gonna be using any of those pesky critical up skills, and most importantly, it decreases the enemy's arts card resistance by 20 to 30%. You are absolutely going to be using this on every single turn you use Murasaki's Noble Phantasm, and hopefully in an arts Brave Chain. Go ahead and max this skill second. And Murasaki's final skill is Literary Maiden Summer rank A. For 3 turns, this grants Murasaki 10 to 20% NP gauge, so at max level you're looking at a 60% Noble Phantasm charge over 3 turns. Not too shabby, not too shabby. This also grants 10 to 20 critical stars, but unfortunately that is not per turn, that is just once. Boo. Still, this is a pretty significant NP steroid for Murasaki, and you're going to want to go ahead and max this skill first as a result. For Murasaki's append skills, we're just going to go with Load Magical Energy. That 10 to 20% starting MP gauge is good on basically anybody, and you combine that with a maxed out third skill, that's 80% Noble Phantasm gauge in 3 turns, which is pretty dang good. Not nearly as necessary for arts though, so if you honestly just went and forgone any sort of append skill on Murasaki, I don't think I'd begrudge you for saving the servant coins. Murasaki's Noble Phantasm is Sotori Hime Spider's Conduct rank B. This hits a single target for 900 to 1500% damage and has a 60% chance to decrease their NP gauge by 1. Now, this also decreases the enemy's arts resistance for 3 turns, but unfortunately it activates after damage is dealt. So if you go ahead and use this with your first Noble Phantasm, it's not gonna be that powerful. You're gonna have to wait and gear up for the next NP. However, considering we are in the Castoria meta, and considering Murasaki can probably hit for pretty hard into overkill, considering the amount of Castoria buffs, as well as stuff from your own Mystic code that you're using, odds are she'll refund her Noble Phantasm, so you can go ahead and do this again and get the full benefit of that arts card resist. Plus, the arts card resist stacks, so you're going to see increasing damage every single turn from Murasaki until eventually your buffs fall off and she peters out. Hopefully, you can end the fight before then. As with most Noble Phantasms, the 1 to 2 jump for the levels is the highest, so go ahead and shoot for NP2 if you're looking for a sweet spot. So who do we pair Murasaki with in order to maximize her effectiveness? Well, she's an art servant in the arts meta, so Caster Artoria, 2 of them if possible, is going to be your optimal setup. Now, you may not have a Castoria. If so, there are some definite decent alternatives out there. One of them, of course, being Tamamo no Mai, and a lesser rarity variant also exists in the form of Caster Gilgamesh. Considering Murasaki is a rider, if you wanted to throw up some backup riders on your team to be able to support her if your main supports go down, or to end up helping her out if things end up getting rough, or even taking her spot if she ends up dying, you do have a couple of options there as well. My 4-star recommendation will be Sakamoto Ryoma, who can provide all allies with NP gauge, arts card effectiveness, as well as some good old-fashioned attack, and of course Odysseus himself as well, providing arts card effectiveness, and he's able to take some hits if you feel so inclined. But odds are you might just be using this character as your main source of damage anyways, so it's really up to you. Can be a nice little bit of insurance though. So as far as craft essences go, Murasaki, even though she's able to pull a bunch of critical stars towards her, she doesn't necessarily have a reliable way to increase her own critical strength, and neither do any of the supports that I just mentioned. So we're gonna have to lean very hard into that Noble Phantasm and use any sort of critical damage as gravy. Of course, when it comes to Noble Phantasm damage, the Black Grail is easily the biggest draw. This is still the largest NP strength boost on JP to this day. If you're looking for a very budget-friendly option, you really can't go wrong with Dragon's Meridian. This grants you a solid 30 to 50% starting MP gauge, and if you max out Murasaki's final skill, you are going to get a 100% Noble Phantasm fairly quickly. However, the same can be also said of Devilish Bodhisattva, and this also grants you a level of NP Overcharge. This NP Overcharge can be very helpful in dealing damage to a single enemy with Murasaki, considering that Arts card resist is entirely tied to Overcharge level, so you can go ahead and get even more of a resistance reduction the higher your Overcharge level is. Considering the ease with which Castoria is able to charge up a Servant's Noble Phantasm to 100% on turn 1, I can even comfortably recommend One Who Wishes for Salvation. This is a higher NP overcharge level increase, and it also affects that Noble Phantasm multiple times as compared to Devilish Bodhisattva single. So this might be your preferred option if you have double Castoria ready to go. I also don't want you to forget about a CE that's actually just as insane as it was when it was initially released, that really falls by the wayside and I never see anyone talking about. That CE is Origin Bullet. This increases the damage against caster class enemies by 35 to 40%, which you're probably bringing Murasaki to fight because they're weak against her. And it also grants Murasaki a permanent ignore invincibility. So if you have a really tough caster enemy that likes to make themselves invincible, well, now it doesn't really matter, because Murasaki's just going to hit through that anyways. And finally, command codes. Easy budget recommendation, Code Cure. This removes a debuff when attacking using the engraved card, and Murasaki doesn't really have a way to remove any debuffs, so you can get rid of Poison, Burn, and Curse thanks to this lovely little guy. When it comes to her arts cards, we can actually shore up the fact that she doesn't have any particular way to increase her critical damage, and we can actually benefit from all of those stars that end up going towards her by giving her command codes to supplement. Brush of a Mad Painter is a very good option for any arts card, increasing critical damage by 20% on that card. And you can actually go ahead and shore up her other arts card with Heavenly Child of Karama as well. This is going to give her a solid 20% boost to critical damage across both of her arts cards, and you're going to be happy that you got that. I also want to give out a solid mention if you've used some of those command codes but you want to go ahead and wait, eventually give her a good command code with her arts cards, you can give her Kernel Automaton. This increases the critical star absorption of that particular arts card by 50% and grants a 10% boost. This is pretty absurd for a 3-star command code and gives me some sort of notion that they plan to do more with command codes going forward and make far stronger ones. You just watch. Overall, gang, Summer Murasaki Shikibu is a very respectable boss killer, and a great horror movie buff to boot. She has a lot of ways to be able to get in there and absolutely obliterate any single boss you may be having trouble with ease, and considering that stacking arts card resistance reduction, she's just going to deal more and more damage as time goes on until the boss is eventually dead. Unless the boss isn't. See, with the way Murasaki's skills are built and with the way arts cards and refunds and all that work and stuff like that, she is going to have a very strong window of burst damage, but if you're unable to kill your enemy in that time frame, she is just going to go full stop, and it is going to be a hard drop off in terms of damage. So make sure you're buffing her up as much as possible during that short window where she's stacking that arts card resistance. Of course, there are other servants out there that are also very, very good boss killers, and Ryder in general is just a very, very good class, so she does have a lot of other competition from other 3, 4, and 5-star characters. However, at the end of the day, Murasaki is a great boss killer. You should not be disappointed if you got her, and I personally am jealous if you got her, in more ways than one. But of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts about Summer Murasaki down in the comments section below. Let me know if you think there are any allies, craft essences, or command codes that I might have missed. And go ahead and let me know what teams you might be running Murasaki on, or if she's already put in work on a fight for you. And what do you think Summer Murasaki's favorite horror movie is? Or what is your horror movie that you enjoy the most? I am quite partial to Cabin in the Woods. Let me know down below. This horror event was very fun for me. I liked it a lot. If you want to talk more FGO, my Discord server is of course always open. I want to give a big thanks to patrons on Patreon, subscribers and followers on Twitch, and of course all of you here on YouTube. Your continued support is what leads to me making more of these videos, so keep it up. I appreciate it. Anyways, gang, this is Kawaii50, hoping you all have a phenomenal day, and I will see you all in the next video.